that more content can be distributed. What does it also do? It shows my face more, which does what? Well, then people get to know me. So if people get to know you even virtually, what does that mean? Well, it means they start to like, know, and trust you. So the rapport's there. So when they actually physically meet you or join a program or watch a webinar, guess what? They already know you. If someone's watched or listened to even 10, 20, 50 podcasts of mine, do you think they know me? They do. Do they know me? It's just me. Yeah, I kind of do, right? It's just me. I don't change. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. So I want you all to start thinking at a higher level about actually creating deliberately the tribe or the bubble that you want people or your customers to live in. Okay?
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 417. Hope you're amazing as always and life is treating you, well, I hope it's treating you pretty awesome. I really do. And hopefully you're loving these previous episodes because I had a lot of good feedback. So I'm actually going to do another one today. You know, it's you guys who are telling me what to put on the show. So I love it, you know. For the past year or so, if you're new to Mindset by Design, we'll get into that in a minute, but for the past year or so, I've really chopped up clips of people I admire. Broken it down, broken what they've said down. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. But either way, it creates an awesome podcast, and your numbers have grown a lot. So yeah, I'm just grateful for you. And when I say at the start of these episodes, I mean it. I really mean it. Because it's a case of the world is a little bit intense right now. I was going to say chaos, going to say stressful, but it's not. It's intense, right? How we deal with that it just becomes us. And do you know what I've really found is the competition to create a really successful brand or business is getting intense out there. I'm listening to my clients, even whether you're an Amazon client, whether you're running a massive $300 million business, whether you're doing IPO and mergers, or whether you're just getting an online business just scaling from 5 to 6 figures. It doesn't really matter. The competition is really intense. And a lot of people are having to make high-level strategic decisions. And that requires you to really be in flow, really to be at your A game all the time. And as I say, there's so many courses out there and people teaching how to do a physical skill, whether it's SEO, whether it's building the funnels, whether it's launching Amazon as a Shopify, or it's growing a tech company, or it's launching a concept, an idea. All of those things are badass. And there's a lot of salespeople out there who have done a lot of sales courses. But you know what makes the difference? That makes the difference. It's like an Olympic athlete, right? It's like an Olympic athlete. The difference that makes someone win or someone come 8th is sometimes it's milliseconds, right? Think of a Formula 1 driver or a supercar driver. It's milliseconds, right? So what's the difference that makes the difference? Well, are you telling me at the highest levels they haven't got a very similar skill set? Of course they do. Of course they do. That's how you get to the top, right? You've got a very similar skill set. So what's the difference that makes the difference? I know I keep saying it. It's simply the ability to make micro adjustments of decisions in the moment when the pressure is so intense. Does that make sense? Right, and that doesn't just begin like going, oh, okay, I'm going to make these decisions now. No, it doesn't work like that, right? You have to train your brain and your nervous system to respond how you want it. It's called preconditioning, or what I teach my systems, it's called preconditioning. And that's what it's all about, right? So one of the things in basic sales, or not even in sales, just in high level communication. It could be a networking event, it could be on stage, it could be doing presentation on webinars, it could even be just making a damn TikTok video. But the ability to be able to be so consciously aware of your physiology, your tonality, your baseline settings, and somebody else's means that you can communicate on such a deeper level. Does this make sense? Talking mud, clear as mud, I should say, right? Maybe, maybe not. And that's really one of the key elements to making sure someone performs at the highest level. It's building those unconscious patterns into them, so then things get automatic. It's like what we teach the salespeople, right? Well, back in the day, I used to teach it to a lot of salespeople, hundreds of salespeople. But these days, I just fine-tune things. I'm working with a real estate lady right now who's just, doing great. But I know within 90 days, I can double and triple her income. And it's not I'm teaching her how to hustle. I'm just teaching her how to think at a higher level. Because when we can make higher level thinking, we make higher level decisions. We can make strategic action, and we can have, I should say, high level ideas. And business and performance is created from ideas. If we don't have think about it, right? If we don't have that idea, then we can't do the other steps. And that's the same with creating a car, right? A golf club, a whatever it is. But it's also the same thing with an idea. And when you can think at that level, it speeds time up. And what I mean by speeding time up is if we don't have any resistance, then unconscious resistance, then what happens is we can think laterally. And that lateral thinking means then we can see opportunities or pathways or systems that weren't there before in our conscious awareness, but suddenly appear. And that is the difference that makes the difference. Is this clear? Making sense, right? Making sense? So today's episode, that's what I'm going with this. Today's episode, I am going to continue showing a little bit of what I do from some of the courses I've created or the masterminds that people have been in. So if you haven't gone to 416 yet, go to that episode. It's a goodie. It's just a little taste. These episodes are just a little 30-minute taste of massive trainings, but I know it'll help. So the previous one was Unlocking Your Mind, which is this series, my NLP states and habit secrets. So NLP states and habits, well, go and take a little listen to that. You've got the one before, which is 415, Unlocking Your Mind. So it's my NLP anchoring secrets. And NLP anchoring is profound. And it's not just a case of like Tony Robbins, which they show you in. Tony does so much advanced anchoring, but what I'm talking about is what most people teach, and they just think about, okay, if I hold this pen or I hold this thing and think positive, these things together create a anchor. Well, yeah, they do, but it's so much deeper than that. We're communicating with our own unconscious mind. Remember, the unconscious mind is that automatic part of your brain that makes you blink, breathe. It also affects your behaviors. So when we can start to tune that in or communicate with that, then you're living in a whole different reality. Does this make sense? So that's today's episode. We're going to talk a little bit about persuasion. We're going to talk a little bit about influence. And this is from a mastermind. Just a little clip from a mastermind. And we're dealing with entrepreneurs who have physical businesses actually then. I think in this episode, yeah, they just have physical businesses. But even then, it's you'll see. You're going to love it. So get your notepad, pen, jump in, and yeah. Let's do this. And speaking of doing this, why don't you do something for yourself? Number one, head over to andymurphy.online. andymurphy.online, head over there and get your Total Mind Control Handbook. It's free for now. $27 worth of value. That's what I'm going to be selling it for. So I want you to go and get yourself a free copy right now. It's going to teach you all about brain waves. It's going to teach you all about peak states. It's going to teach you all about nervous systems. It's going to teach you how to get control of yourself. The most important thing in business is getting control of yourself. Number two, You want to go nerdy? Want to go nerdy? Then you need the 8-Figure Thinker University. It is, bar none, the most complete mental training system that exists on earth. It's going to take you on such an immense journey. It's going to take you on such an immense journey that you are never ever going to look at business the same way again. If you're doing physical skills right now, and you're getting stuck, if you're coding, if you're building funnels, if you're an e-commerce owner, if you're trading, whatever it is, go to andymurphy.online and go to shop. Go to shop, and you're going to see 2 products in there. There's going to be others, but 2 products. You've got the 8-Figure Thinker University, and if you're a trader, you've got the Genius Trader in there. So go and check both of those out. And if you need a little premium savings, I'll say that, message me, directly message me, andy@andymurphy.online. Email me, and I might be able to help you out. And the other thing is, it's only for a few people, and you're probably not one of them. But maybe you are, maybe someone else you know is. What this is an opportunity to maybe work with me personally, or in one of my programs that are coming out again. I've got another beautiful program coming out, and it's all about rebooting and expanding. What the heck does that mean? Well, as a high performer, it means that we can't always be in that high performance. The bubble is going to pop at some time. And it becomes a nightmare, an absolute nightmare, to sometimes to be able to switch back on and get it back into that level of performance that you were in, right? That former glory. Well, if that's the case and you're feeling the heat right now, then why don't you have a chat with me? There's 2 parts to my system. It's we reboot you, and then we expand you into Blue Oceans as the 2.0 version. But first of all, maybe you need that psychological reboot to find that fire again, switch back on, get that belief and confidence going. But more importantly, light up and build the pathways in your brain of who you were. And so you can then step back into it faster and faster and faster. Sound good? So head over to andymurphy.online for all of those things, and make sure that you're clicking on work with me. Apply. Let's have a chat. See what we can do. Sound good? Awesome. And speaking of sounding good, head over there now, andymurphy.online. And should we jump into today's episode? Yeah, let's jump in. I know you're going to love it. And I will see you at the end of the show.
And then what I want to cover today is something that I really believe is insanely powerful, okay? Insanely powerful. And this is what I've spoke about before, or if you've gone through the 8-Figure Thinker or any of my other trainings, or I've mentioned it here. It is called mirror neurons, okay? So I'll explain what those are, how powerful they are, and how to use them in any aspect of business. Remember what we're doing here. And over these weeks, these masterminds are designed for one reason, right? Bring a community together. I give you little techniques and bits and pieces. We bond together and help each other. And then we can install and keep our mind muscles pumping, right? So let's just jump in. And then we'll do the wins and maybe a little bit later. But while we've got a couple of others, because it might bring up some awesome different perspectives. So let me explain what we're going on with here with mirror neurons. So this is something which is really powerful. Let's move down here. So what you got to understand about mirror neurons is from a very certain part of our brain that replicates. It's human mirror neuron system. Right. So what it does is we use this in rapport building. We use this in NLP. Right. So rapport building really beautiful for mirror neurons. Or if you're sitting down with somebody from this moment on, I want you to start watching them. Why do I mean you watching them? This might be a person you know or a person you don't know. And let me explain this real quick, because I want to show you how to start doing something called pacing. So what this means is that if I was sitting there like this, right, and we were just talking, probably Nathan starts to feel more comfortable, right? Because we're sitting similar, right? Yeah. And if I was to do this and not tell you that, right? Exactly. But I'd move back, my head position's the same way, right? It's your brain goes, It's so what we start to do is when we're building rapport, this is for bar staff, whoever, right? Your team, it could be like whoever, Christy, it's the same thing. Christy knows all this stuff. But it's a case of, again, you've got some guy, big dominant like this, had to sit standing there. Guess what? If you're all timid, you think he's going to have respect? No, it's like, hello, John, how are you, mate? Right? And then what you'll do after a while, you will just start moving into your position. And if he comes with you and changes position, it means it's called pacing and leading, okay? So it means what we start to do is build a very deeper level of rapport. At that moment, if you want to do sales, that's when you say, do you want another drink, John? So that's exactly what you do. Yeah, it's exactly what you do, mate. So it's extremely powerful. I close thousands of people doing these type of stuff. So so if you start to look at your family like this too, right? This is with everyone, because entrepreneurism isn't just about business, right? So with your family, say you're arguing, right? Or you're having a debate, let's use that, with your family member. And they're like this at you. If you go back to them, just listen to them, and then relax, and then relax, and then relax. They will come with you, right? So if you start to observe people, you can start to lead them. And if they come with you, right, what it means is that, right, this is the thing, I could sit there and you wouldn't notice. You literally wouldn't notice. And then you can start watching like facial expressions, and you can copy them, even little ticks in the face and little smiles and all of these features. Yeah, these little features. If you start, right, do whole topics around this, but if you start watching and copying them, just be very subtle. If you do a little twitch, do it back. Little smiles. Same, right? And I want you to do the same with their tonality. This is echoing, and it goes a whole different thing. But start matching or copying their tonality. Why? Because they're going to love you more. Why do you want them to love you more? Well, do you want to give them what they need? They might need coaching, they might need help, they might need to walk up a mountain, they might need another beer, right? So if we have creating the tribes, right? What we were talking about before. So what we're doing is creating a place or a safe place for them that they want to feel at home in. Okay, so it's like going back to the old program. We're all old here, so we can say Cheers, right? Remember the classic American program, Cheers? And you used to walk in, and there'd be Norm, and everyone would go, Norm. What was their tagline? Where everybody knows your name. That's how you start looking at building a tribe, right? So again, what I've started doing, and I'll just keep ramping them up, but again, in the groups, and I do these live across like 4 platforms every Thursday now, that's it. I'll just keep doing them, creates more content. That more content can be distributed. What does it also do? It shows my face more, which does what? Well, then people get to know me. So if people get to know you even virtually, what does that mean? Well, it means they start to like, know, and trust you. So the rapport's there. So when they actually physically meet you or join a program or watch a webinar, guess what? They already know you. If someone's watched or listened to even 10, 20, 50 podcasts of mine, do you think they know me? They do. Do they know me? It's just me. Yeah, I kind of do, right? It's just me. I don't change. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. So I want you all to start thinking at a higher level about actually creating deliberately the tribe or the bubble that you want people or your customers to live in. Okay. The more unique the experience, the more safe an experience, the more novel an experience, they're going to want to be a part of it, and they're going to want to tell other people. You know, does that make sense, everyone? Yeah. I know it's a bit random or ranty, but it's important. It's important. So let me find this again, and I'll go back to these mirror neurons. Okay, so what we want here is to understand, just like what I was explaining there with Nathan, is that you got it, right? We start matching and mirroring. You keep it there, mate. I'm not going to do it. Don't worry. So I made it
paranoid now.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you can also understand. Like, I've been into, as a side note, I've been into like department stores. I've gone to look at buying beds and furniture, and the salespeople, it's like, you don't realize I've done this for a long time. So they start following you. You know, you go in and then they're like lurking around in the background and shit. Well, then what they start doing, they'll have a conversation, pay very close attention. They all will start trying to match you. Watch. If you don't like the guy, just break it. Catch it, watch him, because he'll be mirroring you. Just break the mirror. Just break what he's doing. Just change it completely. The rapport will instantly go. If you could also play with him back, like you could start leading him. This is the other game, right? So you start joining in with him, then start pacing his tonality and slow everything down. And then just start moving over here. And then say, we're coming this way. And he'll come with you, right? And he doesn't even know he's coming with you, right? So there's all of these things, but this is where it all comes from. Mirror neurons. So a mirror neuron is a neuron that fires both when an animal acts and when the animal observes the same action performed by another. Okay, thus the mirror, right? Mirror the behavior of the other as though the observer were itself acting. Such neurons have been specifically observed in primate species. So to put this in a context you will absolutely 100% understand. Have you ever seen like home accident videos where people falling over off skateboards and smashing themselves up, right? Why are those popular? Because everyone watching them goes, ooh, ah! What do you think that is? That's a mirror neuron, right? So when you start to understand the power of these, we've got to look at the people around you, which we'll get into. We've got to look at what you're watching, which we'll get into, and all of these things. This is how powerful they become. So really what it is, okay, so it's a small circuit of cells in the premotor cortex and inferior partial cortex of the brain, the front, right? So these cells, so interesting is that they are both activated when we perform a certain action, such as smiling or reaching for a cup. And when we observe someone else's performing that same action, in other words, they collapse the distinction between seeing and doing. What does that mean? If I yawned now, do you think you might yawn? Right. That's the thing. It's mirror neurons. Exactly. It's mirror neurons. So these become massively important for understanding, building rapport, reading people, and social cognition. If they were wired automatically to internalize the movements and mental states of others, then what does this suggest about violent movies, television programs, and video games, right? And I'll always have this argument with people. If you're playing a computer game that's shooting thousands of people a day, what it does is it desensitizes your brain to that action. And it also makes you very skilled at that action. Hence why the military have literally video games as they have in tanks and sitting in the bases. They're attacking using drones 1,000 miles away, but they're literally computer games. That's who they employ, and this is why. So mirror neurons, actually, the way I teach this, not everyone teaches it this way, but mirror neurons are going back to ancient tribes. So what do I mean by that? This is before we had verbal communication. Okay, that's why I can go to Latin countries and I don't speak Spanish at all, and I should, but I don't. But somehow I get around. Why? Because there's many other ways to communicate, but verbal, right? Verbal, if you're just using it, it's actually supposedly in verbal communication, the actual words are only 7%. It's not true, but that's the studies that are sharing, right? It's not true. But where these goes back to is before we have verbal communication. What that means is that we would learn a new fire hunting technique or a new way to string the bow, right? Before we could actually communicate with words. So what would happen is the tribes would observe other people in depth, and they would what? Copy or model or mirror those examples, right? So if this is, we understand this, and this is how powerful the brain is, and this is a key feature in the brain that I use constantly, then we have to ask the question, if we're leveling up in our life and business, what are we putting in our head every moment of the day, right? Because that's where it's important. I'm going to show you why this is important right now in this next little video. I'm going to show you this because I want you to understand that like the outer world is alive, the inner world is alive, and including your brain, right? Your brain literally is alive. And I'm going to show you something right now that some of you will have seen, but some of you won't understand that this is what's happening in your head. And when we're growing you and expanding you and changing your focus and teaching you skills and routines, this is what's going on in your head. Your brain is alive. And this is what happens when we delete or change the way you think. It literally prunes the neural net. You get the idea. So when you start understanding that your brain is alive and your mirror neurons are replicating everything, what are we putting in our head? Think about that, right? Think about genuinely in your life what you're putting in your head. Connect it to what you want. What do you want? You want to be a multimillionaire, want to have financial freedom, want to have time freedom, whatever it is. I get it. Don't we all? So what are you putting in your head, right? It's like there's a law I'll teach you right now. And then we'll jump back into that. So the law is something 33%. Have you heard me say this before? The law of 33%? Okay, this is a great one for everyone. Pay attention to this because this thing will change your life. And it's also like a motivator in me massively right now. So look at it, the law of 33%. It's not quite, obviously, it doesn't quite add up to 100%. But the law of 33% is at this, I call it layers, okay? So we got layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, okay? So layer 2 is where we're all at. Different people, different things. But let's say your own personal experience, you are on the second layer. What does that mean? It means that you're hanging around with the majority of people who think like you, right? They are on a mission. They have this very similar drive, goals, ambition, belief systems, very, very similar, right? Law of 33%. So think of mirror neurons now, right? You also have the law of 33%, which is below you, right? These are the people below you. And I don't mean you're better than them in any aspect. I mean, they aren't as driven as you. They aren't money motivated. They're not entrepreneurs, basically. These are the 9-to-5ers, right? Mirror neurons. 2, like you. The third level is people who are 33% ahead of you, potentially 10 to 15 years ahead of you in the game, okay? So why is this important to understand? It's massively important to understand because if you are hanging around with people who are on the same level as you, what are the conversations? Nothing wrong with this, by the way, but what are the conversations? Well, they're probably similar conversations to you, right? Similar belief systems about money, similar values about life, similar ways they talk to themselves, everything's similar, right? Well, now go back to your people you grew up with at school, right? These are the lower 33% of people. Probably still drinking in the same bars, talking about memories from 30 years ago, all of this same shit, right? They aren't in even the same world bubble. Remember groups? They're not even in the same world as you, right? They're not better than them, nothing, just different worlds. But think about these guys. Think about the people who are 10 to 15 years ahead of you in the game that you're playing. Think about that. What's their vision of the future? What's their expectation, right? What their beliefs? How do they think about money? What are they driving towards? Right. So think about the three groups. Now, should you hang around? Well, look at it this way. If you've only got so much time on a pie chart, where should we be spending most of our time? Which group? It's quite rocket science, not rocket science, right? The top group, right? But let's compare this to, I don't know, someone on 50 grand a year, someone on 200 grand a year, someone on $1 million plus a year, right? If we went down to this bottom group who are on 50 grand a year, is there anything wrong with that? No, do what you want, that's fine. But what are their beliefs, right? How would they seeing the world? If we understand mirror neurons, we hang around with these people too much, guess what your brain is going to start adapting to, right? That level of thinking, that level of belief, that level of success. And trust me, everything goes in fucking levels. The second stage, these are the people like you. Awesome people. I'm sure you've got lots in common with them. The challenge is they think like you. So there's no growth. There's no massive acceleration. There is no boot camp to that next level. These people they want to create income, but they're not thinking about a portfolio of an exit strategy. They're not thinking selling this. They're thinking about income. Nothing wrong with that, right? But let's chunk up to these guys, million plus, 10 million, 20 million, billionaires, whatever the fuck you want, right? These people at the top, how are they thinking, right? It's a totally different world. And so we've got to be so careful who we connect ourselves with in our personal network, in the bigger space of things. So if we, for example, to put this in a different context, if we had never, let's use this one. If we'd never drank a day in our life and we go and hang around with people who drink, what you going to start doing? You're going to start drinking. Push what? If you've never trained a day in your life and you go and hang around with pro athletes, what you going to start doing? Training, right? If you go and hang around with billionaires, right? Might not ever become a billionaire, but you're going to be well on your way. But why? These three different groups are three different universes, worlds. These people who are drinking, they're either partying to escape, generally a lot of people, or they're just trying to be social. But either way, they're not thinking like a billionaire. Athletes, what are they thinking about? Just pure health, yes, money and business and stuff, but really it's in that space of health, right? That's what they're doing. Nothing wrong with that, but what are they talking about? What are their belief systems? What are their focuses, right? We hit the highest level, right? Billionaires. Why, if we hung around with billionaires, what would happen in our life? Well, even if we didn't change anything on the outside, how would we change in the inside? Hugely. What's their focus, right? What's their belief around money? Billionaires, right? What's their thinking about the future, right? What are they investing in? Do you understand what I mean? That world is so radically different from any other world. And it's so different from the levels, and it's so different from that. We have to ask ourselves, where are we putting our focus? So it includes understanding this. This is the same with, I spoke about computer games, but this is the same thing with TV. It's like, nothing wrong with TV. Nothing wrong with Netflix. It's all good. Movies, I love movies. I'm a big movie fan. But guess what? What am I watching? I explain it like this. If you watched horror films every day for a month, how are you thinking by the end of that month? Like a weirdo, a proper weirdo, right? Probably need to be in that group, the ghost people. But but the other side of it is, if we watched everything about my man Elon Musk for a month, how are you thinking by the end of that month, right? How is your vision of the future? What's possible? Do you even care anymore if somebody said to you, that's a stupid idea? No. How many times has Elon been told that's a stupid idea? Billions, I'm sure, right? Does he care? No, because it's his vision of the future and he hangs around with billionaires. So guess what? They're thinking all the same. So when we start to understand this becomes so important. Like I think I mentioned last week or in a group or something, I get confused. But again, I've got a finance and acquisitions company that we launched like 6 months ago. And we were working on our first deals and stuff. But there's one to come across our table. It was a $200 million painting. Think about that, right? Not a business, a painting for $200 million. I think I mentioned this last time. And I mentioned also probably that I don't know anybody in my network that can purchase a $200 million painting. And that really, really annoyed me. Not for the sake of selling the thing, for the sake of I am not at that level of network that I can present somebody a $200 million painting and they might even buy it. So guess what I've got to do? My brain, how do we go there? How do we go there? Because you know why I want to go there? Impact, ripple, right down, right? I'm not trying to work up, trying to work down. So again, I'm trying to show you our internal motivators to hit that next level, whatever that is for you. But if we're clear, like I've probably mentioned in sessions and all the rest of it, if we're clear on what we want in the next X amount of years or whatever it is, then it becomes very easy to make decisions about your life and your business today. For example, if you wanted to live in Alaska, maybe you do, but if you wanted to live in Alaska and you knew that, and you knew the type of house, the area, the everything, you knew everything about what you want your life to be like in Alaska, then it becomes very easy to make a decision not to move to California. Do you know what I mean? Sounds stupid, but it's the truth. So if you're looking at what do you want? Well, I want 20 grand coming in a month, every month, don't even have to think, and I can stay in bed if I want it. Okay, beautiful. How are you going to do that? What are the options and possibilities? What's that clear end picture that I can be precise about, that then I can head towards and make decisions to do or not do in my life? And if you can always think like that, then the life becomes quite exciting. Do you know what I mean? It moves forwards. And when we come from that place, guess what? Then suddenly, if it means anything, a $200 million painting is somebody might be interested. I told you about this. It's just ridiculous. I told you about like there's $100,000. People pay $100,000 for a meal and things like that. It's insane. It's just insane when there's kids and people who need like food. Do you know what I mean? And it just blows my mind. But my point is, it depends what your internal driver is to create your unique tribe. Who are you around? What do you need to put into your head, right? That levels you up to that place. So this is why also biographies are amazing, right? This is why documentaries are amazing. This is why listening to audiobooks before you go to sleep are amazing, or in the background. Why? Because we want to constantly pump this mind muscle. Because the more we get used to thinking, feeling, and acting as a certain version of us, as that higher level, again, if we're around the billionaires, we'd start thinking, feeling, and acting more like them, which means that we would be making different decisions. We will be making highly leveraged decisions. We will be making sure that the next thing we do is going to take us to where we want to go. And that's it. That's the power of mirror neurons. Does that make sense, everyone? I know I ranted on for a while, but does that make sense with mirror neurons? So the thing is, I want you to really get clear on is what you want and what you don't want. And the thing is here, we could do this exercise, but I prefer to just put it in your head, which we'll do in a second. It's only a small group today, so it's easy. I want you to really, I've said this before, but what is a non-negotiable? It's such a key thing. Like I said with Alaska, if I wanted to move to the beach, right? What's a non-negotiable? For me, sunshine. There's no ifs or buts, sunshine and heat. That's a non-negotiable for me. What else is a non-negotiable? Well, I want to, by the end of this year, I want to only be working 2 days a week. And I'm going after it. That becomes a non-negotiable. Why? Because I want to spend the rest of that time helping. So have I got to level up my business and lives and everything massively? Yes. That's what this year's about. That's what this year's about. Thinking bigger than I have in a long, long time, and then going to make it happen. And I'm doing everything I can, because what I know, this is a trick by Elon Musk. What Elon does is like what he did with Tesla. He sets a goal which is unachievable, basically. It's absolutely unachievable. But guess what? If I knew that in 6 months' time this had to happen, how hard am I working today? Pretty damn hard, right? If my income stream is connected to a dude that says you've got to get this done in 6 months, I'm going to do it. But I'm the dude, right? You're the dude, Chris. So the point is, did he get it ever accomplished at that date? No. But he launched. It took, I think, after that first initial date, it took another 4.5 years to actually get Tesla out. But if he didn't set that extreme parameters, that might have taken 15 years for it to get out, right? So this is what we call Parkinson's law. This is also what we call folding time. So his big statement, and I love this statement, and I think it was him who said it, but how do you turn a lifetime goals and do it in 6 months? Think about that, right? How do you take 10 years goals and make it in a year? It's not possible. Yes, it is. How do you do it? Don't know. Right, yet. But it's possible. And that's how this level of thinking thinks, right? It's the same with any business that you've got. How do we achieve that 5-year goal in the next 12 months, right? How do we achieve the 10-year goal in the next year? Doesn't mean, remember Tesla, it doesn't mean you're going to achieve it. What it does is it kicks your ass to go after. You're going to be so closer to where you want to go than where you are now, right? And it doesn't mean where you are now is bad. It doesn't mean that at all. But what happens is we can get in comfort zones very, very easily, boundary conditions, right? If we've got money coming in and we're stable, the instant thing the human brain wants to do is to feel secure. It wants to feel certain, right? What's inside the cave, primarily, what's inside the cave, it knows. What outside the cave, it doesn't know. It's danger. So the brain wants to always go back to comfort. So if you've got a stable thing coming in, everything's good, it's sometimes hard to create that massive passion, that massive drive, that massive energy, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But again, what's required inside of you, if you got clear, again, look at it this way, right? If you knew in 12 months' time that you could feed 10,000 kids for the next 10 years, if you hit a certain goal, how hard are you working, right? If you knew that 10,000 kids were going to get shot in the next 12 months if you didn't hit a certain goal, right? Use the opposite, the pain. How hard are you working? You're working hard. So what happens is I find this with a lot of entrepreneurs over the years. They'll hit a certain level, and then what got them there, the driver, the emotion, the ego to attain it, isn't there anymore because you've got there. So how do you motivate yourself from a place of safety to actually create the next stage, right? That's what I come across all the time with entrepreneurs. So how you do that is you change the driver. You change the motivation. It's not about ego going, fuck, I'm going to get this. Let's get this done blah, blah, so we can be safe. No, then the next stage is once you're safe is to rise. It's different. It's a different thing. You're coming from, remember before we said the ego comes from the amygdala, the flight or freeze response, right? What have I been teaching you? The heart brain, right? We come from here, we're in flow. We come from here, we're worrying. So what I want you to understand is that coming from here and going after a goal or achievement or a purpose in this next chapter with a time defined, that's what creates the drive, right? If we knew we could sell our businesses for $3 million in the next 18 months, and you knew all the criteria that it took to sell that business in 18 months, how fast and hard are you working to tick all of those boxes so you can sell it in 18 months? Not saying you should, not saying you shouldn't, but that's what we're looking for as an internal driver. Does it make sense? I hope so. I hope so. So is there any questions, any ahas, any feedback? Have you seen those mirror neuron things before?
Not that I can't think of it at the moment, but I'll be taking more notice of, I'll be trying a few little tactics today. Just, your pacing and mirroring. I'll see what I can do. Have a bit of fun with that and see if it works.
I'm telling you, just slow it down. You'll start watching it in yourself too, because this is the other side. You'll watch yourself going into rapport with somebody that you're listening to. That's the thing. You'll watch it. So you'll even probably copy their words and their tonality. If it was like The Rock, right, and you love The Rock, you'd start probably being big, tough, like talking loud, and that's because that's him. But then you'd probably be the same. So I love that, man. Yeah. And see, then when someone's in rapport, see if they want another round. See if they want another drink. You'll be probably quite shocked. You know, the feeling good. They want more dopamine.
Yeah,
that's it.
One of my best
an ice cream then, Christy. I just thought it was your gloves.
That's my gloves. One of my best customers when I worked at the Harley shop, I would see him coming through the door and I would run to the back and take, I kid you not, 3 shots of espresso so I could match him. And I sold that man probably $15,000 worth of accessories for his $20,000 motorcycle because I would match his pace. And I was the only one he would work with. And he spoke so fast and he was just on the super high level, but I would just match him. And the whole transaction lasted 5 minutes at maximum. And then he'd go on his way and then he'd call me. And so he always caught me off guard when he called me because I couldn't take my shots of espresso to keep up with him. But it was really
right.
powerful tools that I had as a salesperson was matching their speed, their emotion, mirroring their body language, all of that.
Right.
Okay, crew, there we go. The end of episode 417. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you got some good stuff out of that. Little tactics, do you know what? There's so much more I could go into, but I just wanted to give you a little taste, you know what I mean? As we're on this little sequence, this little 3-part series that I'm putting together. So make sure you check the other 2 episodes out. And go and test that matching and mirroring for sure. It's NLP, absolutely fundamental basics. Some people think it is a load of rubbish who are in sales, but it just means they're not doing it right. Plain and simple. You're communicating with the unconscious mind to get non-conscious resistance. And so how that's done is, this is absolutely one of the ways. Back in the day when I was doing pure investment real estate sales, I literally, a couple of thousand people I saw face to face, and truly, I must have had 100 of those people say to me within 5 to 10 minutes, Andy, it's like we've known you for years. This is the reason why. There's a lot more to this, especially when we start layering in the persuasion skills and the language patterns and stuff. But that's not what I really do anymore. It's really not. But what I do is, if you are in sales, I will show you how to double and triple your sales and not even changing your sales script. Because any high performer, no matter what you're doing, you could be a high net worth individual, you could be a founder, you could be any type of high performer in real estate, e-commerce, whatever brand you're building right now, right? You got to understand that you might be running an e-commerce brand and go, I don't need to know about language patterns and all the rest of it. Well, what happens when you're talking to warehouses and new products who you're bringing on, things like that, right? Just for example. But really what this is, if that is you, you're going to need these skills. But what I'm going to do is train your brain to reboot from that dip. As every high performer gets to a point where the bubble pops. We've all been there. Maybe you're there right now. And my tools are going to make sure they're the best in the world to make sure that you bounce back and be on your A game rapidly. So if that's what you're into, if that's where you're at, before we expand you into 2.0 and blue oceans of your business, we have to reboot you and make you a badass again. So easily done. Head over to andymurphy.online for all your goodies, including the Total Mind Control Handbook, including taking a look at the shop on the 8-Figure Thinker and the Genius Trader. More courses coming out. I'm going to put these courses out too. I'm just putting them in the membership site right now. But the big one, you can work with me for a day, 2 days, 90 days, or 12 months one-on-one. Or you can, well, I'm not going to tell you what else I got coming out. I got a nice mastermind VIP coming out. But if you have dipped in success and you want to get that fire back, I'm your man. So head over to work with me on andymurphy.online. Fill the application in for me. Let's just have a chat. If I can help, I can help. If I can't, I can't. Either way, we go away as friends. Sound good? andymurphy.online. Make sure that you're writing me a review. Make sure that you're sharing this with somebody awesome. And what else? That's it. Keep kicking ass. Much love. And I will see you next week. Until then, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.